shift in the structure of the economy, what they call a structural transformation. In that, the share of agriculture in GDP goes down, and the share of manufacturing and services, they go up. Also, there is a shift in employment from predominantly being concentrated in agriculture to manufacturing and services. Now, what we have seen in India, and all students see, comment, is that unlike the kind of transformation witnessed in, say, Japan, Korea, and recently in China, we don't see that kind of transformation or a shift of employment from agriculture to manufacturing, nor do we see a structural shift in terms of contribution of the GDP. And it is a fact that in India, relative to manufacture, the services sector has grown fast. And your role of IT services, banking services, financial services, and all that. So while the contribution of GDP has decreased, and today GDP from agriculture is contributing only about 18% to the Indian economy, its share in employment still remains large. Agriculture still accounts for 46% of India's labor force. So we have this structural dichotomy that the share of agriculture in the economy's GDP contribution is going down, while its share in employment still remains high. It employs almost slightly less than half of India's labor force. So the challenge before us is in the future to increase the share of both manufacturing and services in their contribution to GDP as well as in their contribution to employment. I need not dwell on the importance of employment. The speaker before me mentioned about the youth, the youngness of our population, the fact that compared to other countries, we have a very young population. There is a large pool, the so-called demographic dividend that we have. So there is a need for us to, provide employment, and for certain sectors in this process of structural transformation that we are witnessing, the high growth in recent times in India, there is a need for certain sectors to provide that level of employment. And that level, when we see that shift happening from agriculture to manufacturing and services, I feel will be a very important role will be played by the tourism sector. Because tourism has a great economic potential, it has the potential to create jobs, and it also has the potential to contribute to the GDP. So when we were working in the Ministry of Tourism on the vision that Mr. Bhalla spoke about, that is what we were, had the vision in our mind, that the contribution of tourism as a sector should go up from about 5-6%, which is at the current contribution to GDP, to above 10%, 12%. And similarly, its share in employment should at least double from the level that it is. And we are seeing the potential in many parts of the country where you will not see productive agriculture happening, say in the hills or in areas where agriculture is not, or even manufacturing to go there in large numbers because of issue. Manufacturing goes where there is infrastructure or raw materials available. So if in certain pockets of the country where these are not available, we are seeing tourism as emerging as an important, very important source of employment for local communities and contribution to the local economy. So I think today we should think and work on how in the future the important role that is expected of tourism it plays in the years to come, in the decades to come. And on this World Tourism Day, I think we should all think of that future that we look for and the important role that tourism will play in this economic transformation of our country. I wish this seminar and the deliberations all the best, and I'm sure the deliberations here will contribute to the future growth of tourism in India. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that valuable address and insightful inputs we had from you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege now in inviting Shri M.B. Bezbawaji, who is a veteran administrator and tourism leader. Having served as Secretary Ministry of Tourism, he was designated Honorary Permanent Representative of UNWTO for his contribution to global tourism and has chaired PATA International Author of Books of Tourism and editor of 5-volume Encyclopedia of India's Fairs and Festivals. And let's put the hands together to welcome Shri M.P. Bezbawaji.
Thank you. General Seth, respected keynote speaker and guest of honor, Srimati Sinha, my distinguished colleagues, Arvind and Ms. Jyotsi, and a friend from the industry, Mr. Valda, Mr. Agarwal, distinguished guest, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Well, standing here, if I think that if I have anything to add after all that has been spoken by the distinguished speakers, I think I must be a die-hard optimist. But as an old man, always willing to speak, let me share a few thoughts. And I must congratulate FAST for doing this seminar on a very important occasion. But I feel very optimistic because the time is right. And in my long years of association with tourism, I had never seen a time in India where tourism was in the right place. It is being driven by, from the top, and driven with the idea that tourism can play a very important role in employment generation, in creating inclusive growth, and as a pillar of development, which was missing for a long time. And that is the time when we have to, all others have to strike and see that push is taken forward. Well, I have the Prime Minister also, after the budget presentation, had an interaction with the industry, and he made an important observation which significance should not be lost. And he said that now it is time to roll out the roadmap. And we are talking about the roadmap today. Now, when he said that, perhaps he meant that we have now to move from policy to implementation, and that is the thing what is required today. Well, when we talk about the roadmap, the government also have pointed out that how we want to do it is no longer as just things happen or taking things for granted. It has to be in a mission mode. Now, about the roadmap, personally, I think when we talk about, we have been talking about 3 or 4 things, and we have to be clear about what we are talking about, and then only we can decide on what we need to do. I'm not going to talk about the geopolitics and the other challenges which have been already mentioned. We have been talking about, as our objectives, 100 million foreign tourist arrival. We have talked about 10% of the GDP share, and placing on the top of 5 destinations in the world, 3 trillion tourism economy, and all that. Each is achievable, each is desirable, each is important, but depending on what we choose, the emphasis on the action will also partially change. For example, if we are talking about foreign tourist arrivals, not counting the NRIs, we will be depending on promotion that we have been talking about as India. We will be talking about making more of global standard destinations. But the task is that we have to go 15 times more than what we are today. And then we must not forget that we are going to have 15 billion domestic tourists also. Now we have a problem of dispersing all those tourists if we have to have sustainable transformation as we are deciding on the World Tourism Day today. Now 3 trillion tourism economy, yes, it is possible and it is certainly within our reach, but we will have to depend on foreign tourists, 100 millions. We will have to go for high value and low impact. But there is a conflict. You cannot go for high value, low impact for domestic tourists because the income generation, Indians traveling, you cannot provide, make the motto of high value tourism. They have to be provided what they can afford because they have to see dekho apna desh. 10% of GDP, I always felt that the 5.6% that we are talking about is not correct because World Travel and Tourism Council has been saying that there are 30 activities at the core of tourism which is actually associated with tourism, but we talk only about 5. And that's why way back we had decided to go on to, the accounting system cannot really take into account all the ripple effects of tourism all across the economy. So we decided to go on what is called the tourism satellite account, which is being implemented now, and that's why from 2% we have seen that it is 5.6, but I'm sure if we can make that system, accounting system perfect, then we will certainly see 10% growth, and even otherwise that is desirable and possible. Now, what are the priority actions we have to do to achieve all these things? First, of course, has been talked about is convergence. Government itself has recognized convergence of all the players, and the harmonization of action between the states, central government,